What is up? This is the War Dog. Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Theater. Today we got Dane Ellingson with us. What's up, Dane?
What's going on, guys?
And as always, I got my co-host JR. What's going on, JR?
Oh man, it's been a long, busy weekend so far, man. But it's been awesome.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. All work and no play makes War Dog kind of boring. So if I'm boring on this one, you're just gonna have to forgive me. John, what are we talking about on this one? Why don't you give us a little heads up?
Right on, man. Well, we have a full slate for sure, man. We're going to try and get into talk. Of course, we want to touch on the Crew Kickstarter at some point tonight. We're going to talk about VisionCon at some point as well, which is where I've been all weekend and why it's been long for me. But I think where we're going to start out this evening is a continuing story from Bleeding Cool. And that is, it's weird because it falls locally to me, but, you know, it also is coming up again through social media here that the Comic Cave here in Springfield, Missouri is closing. And the long and the short of it is, to kind of give everybody a bit of a backstory on this, is the Comic Cave has had some financial issues, and that dates back to probably November of last year. So, and the reason I say that is because in November, late November of 2018, they ran, Bleeding Cool as well ran a story of, this is what $4,000 worth of comic books, or of comics waiting for 9 customers to pick up looks like. So they run this story. They say that there's, you know, there's $4,000 in the story. Later it says $6,000. I'll let them play a little fast and loose with those numbers. That's on them. I'm not gonna. It's neither here nor there. But in that same story, the Comic Cave had set up a customer of the Comic Cave had set up a GoFundMe. And that got a little bit of backlash at the time. A little bit, not much, but a little bit of backlash. And I don't think that was undeserved. But the truth of the matter is that GoFundMe is something that kind of touched a bit of a nerve with me at the time. So let's start there, and then I'll update as we continue our chat here. Dane, how do you feel about a GoFundMe for an LCS?
I think that's kind of dumb. You aren't getting the business as it is, and you're hoping for free money. Is what it boils down to. And did you really say 9 customers had a total of $4,000 in pull list?
That is what Bleeding Cool was reporting. And again, if anybody wants to check this out, it's November 25th of 2018. And what they have there is not just comics. So, of course, to sensationalize it, Bleeding Cool is calling it, is calling it only comic books. But there are some figures, there are some there's some statues, some of that stuff. But it's a sizable stack of stuff that's waiting for customers. And yes, there's a second picture there of, man, there's easily 200 comic books there that they're waiting on too. Because I mean, there are 3 stacks in this picture. One looks like it'd easily fill up the majority of a short box, if not an entire short box. Mind you, also, those books are not bagged and boarded, which is that's a minor pet peeve of mine. Is a brand new book coming off the shelf not being bagged and boarded. That's a pet peeve of mine and has been for a long time. To me, trying to sell a brand new book and not giving it a bag and a board is like McDonald's telling you that they're not going to give you napkins and a wrapper for your burger. You know what I'm saying? Todd, how do you feel about the GoFundMe?
Oh, I mean, I think that's really like an abuse of the whole GoFundMe idea. I mean, I could understand if the owner was sick or something or had some health issues, but the fact that they're running their business poorly, I don't think that's a good reason for a GoFundMe at all. I mean, that's really my thoughts on that.
Right. Well, and to give you guys a little bit of extra backstory, that of course Bleeding Cool is either willfully ignorant of, didn't know to ask about those kind of things. A few months before this, the Comic Cave put on a con for the first time locally, and it was not as successful as they had hoped, is my opinion. Some folks attended and said that they had a blast, and I have no doubt that the con experience itself was a fun experience. But I get the feeling that with the guest list that was involved, that possibly costs on the con itself were a little higher than what the con itself could support. Now, hey, look, I am all for people trying new things, trying to innovate in their business, and trying to change things up enough and to help strengthen a comic book community. I mean, that's what how all three of us met, is through an online community through Facebook. So I'm also all for, and you guys know me, whenever I get a hold of folks, I'm handing them a business card of mine that has the Collector's Corner emblem on it, has my phone number and stuff, tells them how to find the Collector's Corner. Hey, if you're looking for a comic book and you can't find it locally, let me help you find it, that kind of thing. And whether that's me flipping a book to them or helping them find the book through the corner market, helping them find it some other way, man, I'm all for that. To me, that all helps strengthen the community. I don't really think that I don't think that a GoFundMe helps strengthen the community. Now, to give you even more information on that GoFundMe, again, this is something you can look up over at GoFundMe. It ended up raising $13,386. So $13,386. That's a pretty sizable chunk. I'm not like I don't got no college degree. I don't have a MBA or anything like that. 13,000 is more than 4 or 6,000. Anybody want to put a calculator to that and make sure that I did that math right? Is it anybody? Todd, will you fact check that for me?
Yeah, John, I totally agree with you there. And like we were saying earlier before this, I mean, if the rent on the building is $1,000, that's a year rent free that they can live in that place. So they just have to get their inventory management correct. And I mean, if you got 4,000 books that are sitting out there in a pull list that people aren't, I mean, you're obviously doing something wrong, because I mean, my shop has a cabinet with the pulls, and there's not 4,000 books in there. There's maybe like 200 at the most.
Well, and actually, I may have misspoke when I said that. Is $4,000 worth is what they were saying. The books involved, it looks to be about 2 short boxes worth of books, roughly. But then on top of that are all the statues, and that's really where I think they kind of had a bit of a goof up here. Is, I mean, I'm looking at statues that I know. The DC Select for the Batman Who Laughs. I'm betting that that's a pretty chunk of change right there. There's what's up.
How hard is it for you if you're going to let them put like the expensive statues, especially on a pole, basically, or on hold? What's so hard about saying, okay, you want this $600 statue, you got to put 20% up, and and it's non-refundable. You got to keep paying. These are your payment dates. How hard is that?
Well, that's old business practice for forever. I mean, Look, I'm old enough to remember when Walmart and Kmart and stuff like that would let you do a layaway, and minimum you were putting 10 to 20% down, and yeah, you made your payments, and guess what? If you didn't make your payments,
You lost your item and your money.
yeah, so sorry about your luck. And I'm not saying you want to go that deep into it as far as that, because again, you want to strengthen the community, but part of strengthening the community is, as a business owner, having good business practices. And so asking for 20% down, man, I've had some people where they say, yes, I will order this for you. Okay, so as an example, you want a 1 in 25 variant on a comic book from one of my, not local shops, but there's a shop in Branson. I just inquired about a 1 in 25 variant. They said, absolutely, we will order you the 1 in 25 variant. This is how we will go about doing it, though. We were already going to order 10 of that book. If you pay for the other 15 right now, we will order that book for you. But that also means you're entitled to the other 15 books. They're all yours.
Yeah, my shop does that too.
It's not unheard of. It's not unheard of. And you know what? They wanted me to pay right then. They did not want me to say, yeah, I'll do it. And then when it comes in, them get stuck with 25 and then have to figure out if they're going to be able to sell that 1 in 25 variant to cover the rest of the cost there. That's to me, and you guys we've been friends for a while now. You guys know me. I am a capitalist at heart, man. I want for people to make money, but I also look at it and say, with that freedom to make money, you have to take responsibility for your actions and the way that you run your business.
To me, that sounds perfectly fair. To ask you to pay for all that and up front. I mean, yeah, why should they sit on it?
But that takes it even into another area. I mean, like DC, you can buy cover A or cover B, and you don't have to buy 25 copies before you get it. That's why would Marvel not want to give you a variety of options to choose from? That's one of the poor business models that I think that the comic book industry as itself has.
I don't disagree with that.
DC does do those ratio variants too, but the cover A and B included with that is equally printed. So there's the B cover is going to be just as many copies as the A cover.
Right. Well, and
there's 50,000 of that book, 25,000 were going to be the B cover.
Right. Well, and I don't want to discount what Todd's saying there either, as far as the business model that the LCSs are having to deal with the comic book producers, your publishers with Marvel and DC and Image, and them essentially telling them, hey, yeah, we know the interior of the book is the exact same. It doesn't further the storyline in any way, shape, or form, but we're essentially going to put a different wrapping on the same book. You look at it and you say to yourself, I've got to order. Basically, they're hoping that the shop feels as though they have to order twice as many or 3 times as many to cover what they're hoping all the customers will want. And so I get that they're having to fight against that too. But man, have a little bit of self-control if your budget can't handle it. You know what I mean?
Now I do know there are some shops out there, a little bigger shops, that will purposely go and order the 500 copies just to get that 1 in 500 variant to sell. And it's irresponsible of them, especially if they know they can't sell 300 of them. Now you're sitting on a back stock that you're going to end up having to throw into a dollar bin or send back. And you lose money that way because you have to ship it, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I know of some online retailers that absolutely 100% will order the 500 or 1,000 or whatever it takes to get the variant. They then mark that variant up to basically cover what the cost was to get all of those books. And
right, which like they've been on 1 in 1,000. What was it, a couple of years back with McFarlane? That wasn't that going for basically like almost $3,000.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the point, is that covered the 1,000 books that they had to order to get it. And then those 1,000 books is where the actual profit was at. And like you say, they might get lucky and sell 50 of them or so, because it's Venom and that's a more popular title historically. But then you end up giving away, trashing, putting in dollar bins those extra ones, and your average everyday collector sees that the book that they bought with the A cover on it, that there's no increase in value like there should be, because there's a 1 in 1,000 variant out there that's that ate up any future investment. You know what I mean?
Right. And, and I know we're kind of getting away from the subject of the comic cave here, but one more point on that is that also drives up the print runs. So you got all these big shops like Midtown, all that stuff, that are ordering 2,000 copies of that book just to get 1,000 variants. So now we're increasing the print run, and if there was something major in that book, like a major first appearance, it's now going to be like semi-worthless.
Yeah, yeah, to a certain extent.
Now something that would have probably originally, if it just had standard cover, maybe was 15,000 books ordered the entire time. Now they've pushed up, and now they've ordered 60,000 throughout the nation. That's not going to make it a very rare book. Anybody and their mama is going to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you will see a little bit of increase in some of them, but like some of the first appearances that folks are starting to spec on again with the Valiant universe, there are so many hundred thousands of those that even then you look at it and say, man, chances are really high those books will never top the $100 mark, even if their movies are super successful, because
now, in the case of going back to old Valiant, like the first appearance of like Harbinger, that's always been a pricey book. There wasn't a lot printed. Now, if that movie does really well, that book is going to pop.
Right, but that's the exception to the rule. I mean, you look at Bloodshot and some of those first appearances, Ninjak, those first appearances.
Right, that's when Valiant was printing 90s level, millions of copies.
Right. Well, and the other thing I think that helps out Harbinger is, didn't they have a coupon in there that you were supposed to send in to get a special
the Harbinger Zero?
Yeah, to get Harbinger Zero. Well, everybody cuts them out so they can get Harbinger Zero. So now it's kind of the same thing as you had with the Marvel Value stamp. You can't hardly find any of them that still have the coupon. So
I got the Harbinger one with the intact coupon.
There you go. So you already knew, which is good, man. Yeah, I mean,
the thing is that like Image was doing that like with Profit and all that stuff too. So that was also driving up sales, going, okay, I want to keep a complete copy, so someone would buy a second copy just so they could cut out that coupon and send it in and get the books.
Yep, absolutely.
But Harbinger was really unknown, and it didn't have a high print run in the first place. So
that
Harbinger Zero is even rarer.
Right. Well, and again, that we get back to print runs and stuff like that. And so that does lead us back. We can bring this full circle here still, guys, because what that does is that leads us back to it is a semi-broken system that the LCSs are having to work with currently, as far as from the publishers, but it doesn't excuse, in my opinion, poor business practices. If you have a budget, if I have a budget here in my home, I have to stick with it. If I don't, and I throw out a GoFundMe, chances are really high people are going to ignore it, frankly. You know what I mean? Like, you guys might like me and you guys might throw me $5 or $10, but if I'm asking for, if I raise $13,000 That, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's going to be like, dude, what are you doing, man? Because you know, but then to further the story along, Bleeding Cool runs the story on it. It originally ran on May 10th. Okay, it's still got some legs here for us as far as it's going. You know, it showed up yesterday basically, but it was originally around these parts again because I'm local to this. It showed up on Free Comic Book, or a week before Free Comic Book Day, that the Comic Cave was closing its doors. Okay, so basically, not exact. Somebody in the comments will say something. Well, it wasn't exactly 6 months. It was 6 months and a couple of days, or just a few days shy. I'm not going to do the math on it. Basically, 6 months later, Comic Cave is closing its doors. They started their liquidation sale on Free Comic Book Day. So last Saturday they started their liquidation sale, and essentially they are saying that the reason that they are closing the doors, they're saying they're closing after people stop picking up their comics. So now I personally am offended by that statement, by the title of that story, because what it's doing is it's demonizing my local comic book community and saying that we're responsible for their poor business practices. Okay. And that, look, man, you guys know I've got several LCSs that I do business with on a regular basis. I am not anti-LCS. What I am anti is somebody throwing me and my community under the bus to excuse poor business practices. And I'm not going to sit idly by and let that happen.
I don't know.
Now,
You Missouri people though, like I try to drive around Missouri because I know you guys, you really hate your brick and mortars. I know when Dane was driving to the Fiend Fest, didn't he avoid Missouri? You know, it's like you see the Missouri sign and you're like, yeah, I'm going to avoid this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Dane absolutely went through Iowa of all places to avoid Missouri. That's messed up, Dane. I'm not sure I'm going to forgive you for that, man. Like, you could have at least right, just, you know, right through East St. Louis into St. Louis. It would have been okay, man. You didn't even have to come.
Here's my finger. Well, to me, you know, that con that you're talking about, maybe you can give us a guess about it, but maybe they massively overreached, didn't make a lot of money on that, and they're folding the debt that they lost onto that into their comic shop, and they're just shutting down.
I think that definitely plays a role in it. Look, I can't see their financials, none of that kind of stuff. So it's speculation on my part to say it, but it's okay.
Right,
This is our show. Right. Well, yeah, and this is my show, but I mean the basics of it is they were touting this show, CaveCon, first year of them doing it. And really, whenever your quote high profile stars are, and look, Cullen Bunn has always been very nice to me. He's a relatively local guy, but you'll bump into him in comic book stores just being a local nerd. And that's cool, but am I going to pay $40 at the door to get in to see him again? I'm probably not. Again, really nice guy. Nothing wrong with him. He signed many books for me, and I greatly appreciate that. In fact, at some point in the future, for price packs for listening to the show and stuff, we will work in and people will get some Cullen Bunn autographed books. Guy's written a ton. Again, in the industry, a big star. We probably take him for granted around here, but the truth is he's not going to draw for a Comic-Con if he's your marquee guy because he's local. Now, the other people that they brought in, the people that I can remember from this is Brian Quinn from the Impractical Jokers. He also does a podcast called Tell 'em Steve Dave. Ming Chen from Comic Book Men, and Brian Johnson from Comic Book Men.
Dude, I'm betting those guys are at least $2,000 just to make an appearance.
Plus travel expenses.
And if they're charging $40 just to get in, people are going to scoff at that. So I almost guarantee they took a huge loss.
Well, I mean, by all accounts, people who went said that they had a blast.
Well, I'm sure they did, but I can't see the attendance being very high.
Well, look, and this is not to bring a direct comparison between CaveCon, First Year Con, and Vision Con, which has been going for 23 years now. They're a pop culture con, so they have. We're going on the channel. We're going to be putting up my interview with Robbie Rist. Some of you guys will know him as the voice of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Michelangelo from the live action original, the original trilogy there. Some people know him as Cousin Oliver. Some people will know him as Robbie the bus driver from Sharknado. He's had a long storied career. So I got to interview him. George Lowe, the voice of Space Ghost from Space Ghost Coast to Coast, was at Vision Con. I mean, these are people that have a nerd following. Somebody else, Jewel State. So if somebody is a fan of the television show Firefly or the movie Serenity, you would know her as Kaylee. So, and she's been in multiple other things as well. I mean, just a slew of people there for this pop culture con. And granted, the price point is about the same for entry, but there's a history there of putting on a really entertaining show and having a lot of activities, those kind of things to add value to that basically $40 at the door price tag range. And so, you have those kind of things to compare them to just locally. And it's something where I don't believe that CaveCon could directly compete with it, and people having VisionCon as something to compare it to, I don't think it's going to match up, to be real honest with you, and really didn't have a prayer at that point to match up.
On the brick and mortar conversation, right? I mean, does the comic book community, or not the community so much, but the publishers, the Diamond, I mean, do they do enough for the brick and mortars? Do they really understand kind of the importance of the brick and mortars? It kind of okay, so somebody's running their business poorly, right? I mean, wouldn't you think that Diamond would have some kind of a representative that they could send to these comic book stores and kind of help them so that they can keep their stores going? Wouldn't you? I mean, wouldn't you think that you'd want more brick and mortars? Because once the brick and mortars shut down, I mean, what's going to happen to the comic industry? Even if you look at when we were kids, you'd go to the grocery store and there'd be a rack with comic books, and you'd pick one up and you'd be like, "Hey, this is cool." And then next thing you know, I'm riding my bike to the brick and mortar so that I can pick up some more comics. It seems like they don't care about the brick and mortars enough, and they're really, really, really focused on profits, but they're not worried about the small guys that are out there. I mean, yeah, you got the online vendors like Midtown and stuff like that, but if the brick and mortars die, I got to imagine that a lot of, you're going to lose a lot of people.
I don't disagree with that at all. What I will say though is that you will see time after time that Diamond will report record sales all the time. I mean, really, if you think about it, they're like, another record quarter. Yeah. and so in turn, Marvel and DC tout how strong the comic book industry is. Now, one thing that has helped DC and Marvel both is that they're starting to sell comic books in those value packs again at Walmarts and Targets and some of the really major retailers. But just for instance, around, I'll save that for a little bit later in our discussion here. But I really don't just think that Diamond, all they care about is moving units out of their possession into somebody else's possession. And just for instance, the Cave is going out of business, but here locally, we've got 2 vintage stocks. We have that's a kind of a pop culture store with comics and used records and all of that kind of nerdy, cool stuff, video games, that kind of stuff. But then we also have 2 more LCSs that are local, that are open like 6 days a week. And then we have a third one that's open by appointment and on Saturdays only. So I realize that my community is still very, very spoiled when it comes to comic book shops. And to have one of those basically 4 shops plus the two vintage stocks, it's still going strong. The community is still supporting those shops. Now I will say this though too, those shops have been willing to go and change the business practice away from relying so heavily on Diamond. I think that's key for all local comic shops to start moving away from their reliance on Diamond, whether it's one shop that deals only in back issues and secondary market books, to another shop that does a lot of gaming. So they'll have a lot of card games in there. They have their own designated room. They've got leagues, all of this stuff, but they also have a strong presence with comic books as well. And they do statues, they do the whole 9 yards there, but they're diversifying away from something where Diamond has them over a barrel so much. You know what I mean? How are your guys's LCSs? How are they coping with trying to diversify or changing the business model?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, mine is more of a game story. You can get tons of weird, I shouldn't say weird. You can get tons of board games that you wouldn't normally see in stores. Warhammer figurines, Magic the Gathering, especially Pokemon, etc. But I do know for a fact in their back rooms they have hundreds upon hundreds of long boxes and short boxes back there of back stock, and they have roughly, maybe Rick Escobar can help me narrow the number down, but they have roughly 15 or 20, give or take, long boxes out on the floor of back issues, and they are grossly overpriced. Like the DC boxes is mostly a lot of the Rebirth stuff right now, and I can get, if I really wanted to pay for this, I could pay for a Justice League or Superman #5 from the Rebirth run for like $6. Like, are you kidding me? This should at least still be covered. There's nothing major in the books. They overmark, and they don't. Like I said, they got they got tons of those long boxes back there, and they never freshen up the freshen up the back issue stock, because I know their floor space is limited. They want to let their non-deodorant wearing Magic the Gathering kids play, or I should say adults play, so they minimize the space for the comics, but they can't even take the time to, like, okay, these aren't selling, so let's toss these in the back room and throw these out here. No, it's because they don't want to go through and price. I mean, come on, I know you paid pennies on the dollar for these things. Just throw them out there and say $2. I mean, it's not too hard for you to skim through and go, okay, I know this is a valuable book. This is a valuable book, and I can deal with that later, and just sell the rest to make profit. They're just sitting on the stuff. I mean, I guess I don't understand how these. Maybe I should do a live video of it sometime. How these board games that literally, I swear to God, don't move, and Magic the Gathering is that profitable. Maybe these guys own, because they're a couple of younger guys, a little bit younger than me probably, and maybe they just flat out own the spot, because I don't see how they're making their money.
Well, I will tell you that from my experience dealing with card shops and comic shops for the better part of the last 20 years, essentially if they have a league show up as a part of the league, they don't actually get to bring their own deck. They've got to purchase a box for the entry to play in that night's tournament. And so there's actually quite a bit of money if the league is run correctly. And so that can be quite lucrative. That's, like you say, to me, that's one of the reasons why, really, to be honest, if we're going to continue to have LCSs, we as comic book nerds are going to have to get used to, if we haven't already, because I mean, it's been almost 20 years now that they've been doing Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and some of these others in those.
And I played Magic the Gathering back when I was 13, 14, and that phase kind of went away. And I'm completely cool with those guys having their league nights, their tables and league nights and tournaments. I know they run tournaments quite often and have release packs. Help from time to time, if one's really popular, they'll have a midnight release. So I mean, I get it. I don't understand where they get the money from, because it's not like back in the day where a pack of Magic the Gathering alpha packs were selling for $50, and this is 1992. That's for a pack of cards. Not the booster packs, but the small little packs were selling for $50.
Right.
If not more. But when because these guys just show up and play, they're free to play anytime they want to, and some of these guys, they plan their own stuff, and the whole parking lot's packed, and it drives me nuts especially now that I don't live in Grand Forks anymore, and I have to drive roughly 30 miles to get to my LCS, and I show up in town at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday, and the parking lot's full, and I finally find a spot, and I go inside, and there's nobody shopping around. They're all sitting at all the tables playing cards. It's like, really? You can't carpool?
Oh no, man. I mean, come on. They just got their car back or just got a full tank of gas. That's you got to show off for your crew, man. But like you say, it's one of those things to me that I'm even okay. I'm even okay with a shop not steering into that lane, but one of my LCSs only does back issues and secondary market books.
I would love that place.
It's amazing, man. And you know what? They sell some on the corner market there too. And so that's the other thing that I think the Comic Cave missed, because honestly, every other shop here in town that I deal with, they sell online too. And for the life of me, I couldn't find an eBay account. And again, somebody may be able to prove me wrong on that. If you can, please do, because that gives me hope that they're going under, but they've got a plan to maybe come back stronger in the long run. I just don't see it at this point from all the information that I'm getting, as far as, like you say, we all understand that LCSs have difficulties that they have to deal with, but there are so many local shops that I can name personally that have changed their business model enough that a GoFundMe was not needed. They're making ends meet. They're working their tails off to do it, but by God, they're living the dream still too. You know?
Yeah.
It's
And the and like I was talking about with those back issues, he showed me one day I was in there. They bought a collection in, and they do this often, and there happened to be a Hulk 181. I'd say it was roughly 7.0, 7.5. Really beautiful copy. He even put it in a special hard case for it. And he's like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I'm like, come on, dude. You're going to have to sell that. I mean, so within 2 hours, I had a guy lined up willing to buy it, and he turned him down. I'm like, are you kidding? That comic probably out of the collection he bought probably only costed him 25 cents. He could have easily made it. Probably the guy I had talked to literally would have paid $1,000 for it, right there.
Oh yeah.
And driven all the way from Minneapolis, 5-hour drive up to Grand Forks to pick it up.
Well, I will tell you, case in point, I have on good authority that the Comic Cave was offered by someone locally to buy bulk from them, and they weren't asking for their premium back issues, quote unquote premium back issues. They were asking for basically dollar bin fodder, but they were asking for it at a discount because they were buying bulk. They were buying several hundred at a time.
Right.
And they were flat turned down, saying, no, we're not going to sell dollar books for less than $1. And again, to me, that speaks to the fact that, man, come on, they're dollar books. If you're not moving them, come off of them a little bit. Come off of them a quarter a piece. Come off of them 50 cents a piece, just to move them out the door and give yourself more. Hey, look, I'm speaking from experience of having a flea market booth that I've had over a year now, and periodically we have sales to move inventory that hasn't moved in a while, so that, like you were saying before, freshen up the boxes, let people look at new stuff, and keep them coming back. Because I've got a couple long boxes of inventory.
I like to hunt. I'm sure you guys both do. I like to plan a Saturday afternoon and be like, I feel like going down to the LCS. So I got 4 hours to kill. Fucking let me flip through some books. Well, I flipped those books, and nothing's different in them. So now I just show up in my LCS. I'm in there for 10 minutes. I pull what I can for my pull list, and I'm out the door. It's not fun, and I know I got a kind of it's a record store, but they have a ton of long boxes, in there. And I've mined that out of all the valuable books pretty much. But they're not getting any fresher stock, and it's like the 90s threw up in there, man. It's mostly 90s books, highly overprinted, nothing that anybody's going to care about. But, and I find some cool, indie books in there from time to time still that I'm like, hey, this is cool. I'll check it out. But I mean, even that's getting to be no fun, because that's not going to get any fresher unless they happen to pick up another collection again.
Yeah, that's a good point on the hunt and actually changing up your stock. I mean, because a lot of us, that's what we like to do. We like to. I'm the same way. Saturday, I'm sitting around doing nothing. Let me drive up to my comic shop and look through his boxes. My shop is at least he's fairly decent in flipping up the stock a little bit, because he's got 2 stores, so he can send things back and forth. But I've gone there sometimes, and I'm flipping through the boxes. I'm like, I already looked at this crap. I don't need to look at this anymore, and the whole point is just get me coming back. Like, take a box that you have, put it in the back, take out a new box, put it out there, and then when I start going through it, I'm like, oh, hey, I didn't see this. Hey, I didn't see this. It's almost like some of these comic book stores, they have that Toys R Us model. I read one of the things I read was that, Toys R Us's failure was that they didn't like do anything special. You know, they didn't have gaming tournaments. They didn't have funny dressed up characters on Pokemon Day or anything like that. And it seems like the comic book shops, a lot of them kind of are doing that same model. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
To be honest, I really think like some LCSs should run some sort of like raffle kind of contest. Like, hey, I got this Hulk 181. Let's have a raffle. You pay $10 a ticket for your chance to win this book. I would throw $10 in there, no fucking problem. If not, I'd probably buy 5 tickets just to have a chance to maybe win that.
Right.
And not only would they basically sell that book probably right away, they might over profit, and someone gets to walk away and go, "Hey, man, I basically bought this for $50." You know?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
anything they can do
to good ideas. I don't know why LCSs and stuff don't do a lot of that, or maybe I'm just from a more isolated area that they don't think entrepreneurially, I guess.
No, you're really not, because like I say, I know I'm spoiled with the amount that I have, and a lot of that stuff does not really happen. It's just something where they look at it, instead of using a promotional tool that way, they look at it and say, I have to maximize my profit on every single book, and if I don't, then I can't sell comic books. And you know, just like that, to me, I'm with you where, look, could I sell books instead of giving them away in prize packs and stuff like that for the for the YouTube channel, for the podcast? Could I do that? I could, but then what purpose does that serve for me personally, as far as, okay, I made $5 or $10 off of that book, but then also I didn't increase our listenership. I didn't strengthen our community. And if you really want to have a strong community, you've got to provide some kind of value that way. Like you're saying, a raffle doesn't hurt anything, and it doesn't have to start with a Hulk 181.
No, I'm just using that as an example.
Oh yeah.
Talk about it. But I mean, how you could, because the other part that bothers me is they literally have boxes labeled behind their counter that says key books and blah blah blah, and it's like getting them to let you even look through it almost is like a chore to them, and it's like, really? I mean, I've been, you know, since I've been moved up north here, I've been a valued customer there. I've had a pull list, and I spend at least $40 to $60 every time I'm in there. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot, but I know I'm paying. Like, there's some guys that have pull list stacks that are a third of a short box. Like, what the hell are you guys doing? My stack gets in there, I'm like, oh God, it got big. Let me buy half of that, like right now, what I can afford.
Right, and that's a good point of, and I agree that people should be responsible customers, responsible pull list customers, but don't you guys think that after, you know, there should be a limit there to say, hey, you know what? Check this out. You're a pull list customer. If you don't pick up your pulls for 3 consecutive releases, your pull list is shut off, and you can't. We will stop ordering them for you until you've paid up in full and got your stuff out of there. I don't think that that's an unreasonable ask of an LCS at all.
No, but at the same time, I can't agree with that, because there's sometimes a whole month where I don't make it into Grand Forks with time to be able to go to the LCS. When I finally get in there and it has overgrown, I definitely drop a chunk to get it down, you know. But I think they know that from me. They know I pay.
Right.
You know, so I don't think I should have to worry about it. They know I'm going to come in and like go, okay, I'll take half that stack and check me out. You know, we're good to go.
Right.
But
well,
like I said, when you got a pull list customer that has a stack like that sitting in their sitting in their thing, you're not buying. Like mine probably doesn't ever get no bigger than that, and I take at least probably half of it.
Right.
No problem.
Right. Well, and just like that though, my understanding, and I'll have to check with my buddy who I know had a pull list there at the cave before he moved. And he and I talked before he moved, and he went in and he told them before he moved, he was getting 3 titles a month, which is not a huge pull list by any stretch of the imagination. But we would all agree if you're moving, you need to give your LCS plenty of lead time to say, hey, I got to turn off my pull list here, guys. I'm moving. Just so you know, this is the last day I'll be in, and then they can adjust accordingly.
Right.
And that also doesn't stick them with 200 issues either. But on the flip side, you look at it and say, okay, that's a guy who's being responsible, and that's like, look, that's the way the comic book community that I deal with locally is. We're responsible folks. We do stuff like that. And that's where, like you say, I have to come in and defend my community that way to say, hey, there's something else going on there. It's not just that people stopped picking up their comic books. It's that the guys who are running the shop, instead of saying, hey, guys, we're not picking up your comic books, so we turned off your pull list. We don't care that you missed. We don't care that you missed the last Hulk book that was a key that's now getting flipped online for $50. You didn't pick up your pull list. That's and we let you know that up front too.
I wish there were more Jesse James comic book stores, ran under his ideas. I mean, he brings in a collection, he puts it out on the floor immediately, if I understand correctly, and they're basically dollar books right off the bat. If you get to them, and eventually he'll go through them and pull the valuables and whatnot and sell them.
Right.
But if you get to it beforehand, and you get through his collection, and you go like, whoa, I found this, and I found this, and found this, and found this, he will honor that as being a dollar book. He'll be like, oh, shit, cool find. My bad.
He is definitely
that's the right kind of attitude. Like, you go in there, you could find some surprises. But, if he gets to that thing and, and he's even broadened his own thing. He has his comic book group, the Comic Book Shopping Network, and he flips them like crazy. I mean, it's just straight sales. And I've watched a couple of those auctions. They're just nuts. Like, he's making hundreds of dollars in just one night, just on comics.
Right. He was actually one of the first comic book shops that I heard about. And by the way, he is on our short list of folks to have on the show at some point. We've got to find a moment when that guy isn't actually hustling and working and turning that profit. You know what I mean? Because that guy, he's one of those guys that is always working to improve his shop and that kind of thing. But yeah, he was one of the first guys I heard of early last year saying, you know what, we're not going to let Diamond do it to us. We are the ones turning the off button on Diamond. We're not doing new books anymore. We're doing all back stock.
He's making more money now, probably.
He literally said on Free Comic Book Day, I didn't give away a single comic book, not one on Free Comic Book Day, and I had the best day of sales that the shop has ever seen. I can tag you guys on that comment in the Collector's Corner, and I don't disagree with that at all, because that, now mind you too, we're kind of going back and talking a little Free Comic Book Day stuff here too. It was on a thread about folks selling the Free Comic Book Day, the Carnage themed Free Comic Book Day book that was already selling for $5 or $10. It's a minor key.
I've seen some sales push up to 20 on that.
Right. But those are the exception to the rule. Generally speaking, it stays in the $10 range. But people get all antsy and mad about people selling free comic book day books. And my whole point, well, go ahead.
Capitalism. I mean,
100%.
there's nothing wrong with capitalism. You didn't want to take the time to go to free comic book day because you didn't want to deal with crowds and et cetera, and now you can't get it. You snooze, you lose. Now you're going to have to pay what they're willing to sell to you for.
Right. And the thing is,
do I necessarily, am I going to be the guy that's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to pay that just to get it? No, I'm not. But it's capitalism. This is how a capitalistic society works. If you aren't going to take the time to go get it when you could have for free, sorry.
Well, and let's be real here. The comic book shops paid for those books. They paid for them. So
I think they roughly pay about 50 cents a book. So if they ordered a couple thousand, they're out.
Oh yeah.
Some money.
They're looking, the comic book stores are looking at it as a way to get you through the door. And so it's partly promotional and partly to, like I say, help build the community, maybe get mom and dad to bring Junior or little Jane to the comic book store and maybe develop that fan at a young age. They're hoping to do that where those folks can pay dividends, thousands and thousands of dollars throughout their lifetime if they're loyal to that one shop. Well, so you look at that, but on the flip side, if you or Todd or I go and get a copy, and I mean, you look at Umbrella Academy, the Free Comic Book Day Umbrella Academy book, and we've talked about this in podcasts before. Free Comic Book Day books are a legit part of the marketplace right now, and people pay a good chunk of change for some of them.
Oh yeah, because a lot of times, especially the bigger companies, drop a first appearance. Like Justice League did it a couple years back with Grail. That technically is her first appearance in a comic book. If you remember the Dark Side War and Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was within a week. That thing was selling for $10 to $50 on eBay. No problem.
Right. Well, I'm with you where it's capitalism at its finest, because somebody is providing a service or a good for someone else that was unable to get it, whether it was because they snoozed and they lose, or because it was an issue of them not having an LCS locally. Hey man, get paid for your time and effort, and you will get the product that you want, and people will continue to get it for you. If you just expect somebody to send it to you for free all the time, guess what? Chances are really high that good or product is going to go away.
Definitely. What was I going to say regarding this? Kind of lost it. I'm sorry.
It's going. All good. It's all good. Todd, you have any final thoughts on that? Because we went off on a bit of a tangent away from the comic cave, but I want to give you some final thoughts on that, and then we can move to talking about the new Spider-Man trailer if you'd like.
Oh yeah.
I know. Should I even say anything? Because the Spider-Man trailer was pretty sweet. I mean, I went for Free Comic Book Day. I got some sweet stuff. I got that Carnage, so I was happy. I seen people at the store. There was more people at the store than normal. Free Comic Book Day is a great thing, and that's all I got to really say on that. I mean, this Spider-Man topic is actually pretty interesting. So why don't you roll us into that one?
Right on. So the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer dropped this week. If you haven't seen it yet, you can pause. We give you permission to pause the podcast for a moment, go watch the trailer, and then come back and listen to it. Now, the other thing that I will tell you too is, if you haven't seen Endgame and you're trying to remain spoiler-free, you're silly. Stop being silly. Go see Endgame, because people are spoiling it for you. There's no way, dude. We're you're 2 weeks into it, man. If you have not seen it, you're either not going to see it till it comes to Blu-ray. Totally cool with that, but understand you can't expect all your friends to be like, you didn't see that Thor was fat. You didn't see that Captain America wielded Thor's hammer, and it was amazing.
To me, those aren't spoilers. Those are just little cool things that you got to see in the movie. I mean,
Right.
spoilers would be like, oh, this is what happened to Iron Man. That's a spoiler, you know?
Well, but look, dude, the reason I call the Captain America and Thor's hammer a spoiler is the entire theater popped when, to use a wrestling term, the entire theater popped, cheered loudly when Thor's hammer started moving, blew past Thanos and Thor, which, by the way, a lot of us were thinking, oh my gosh, Thanos is worthy, because it kind of almost looked like maybe Thanos was reaching for it, blew past both of them, and there's Captain America standing there. And boom, man, just like everybody, it was a major moment. That's the reason I call it a spoiler. But anyway,
I got chills.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
Yeah, I started crying.
I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt that at all, Todd.
You know, before we get into Spider-Man, I will openly admit, when Iron Man, you know, picked it, I got pretty teary, man. I mean, the guys that started the MCU, I got pretty teary seeing him go out like that.
Look, not only that, if anybody who's listening who's a mother or father, if you didn't get teary-eyed at I Love You 3000, you have no heart. You have no heart. You're I'm not going to say you're a bad person. That's not it, but dude, you just don't have you have a very, very cold heart.
Or even the I Love Cheeseburgers too.
Yeah, dude, for sure. That whole bit, man, it's just like, man, that's tearjerker city. But you know, yeah, that's we and if you haven't checked it out already, check out the podcast we did with the spoilers for Endgame. We talked ad nauseum. We talked for, you know what, I can't let it go by. I've got to say this one last thing, because we talked for like an hour and 15 minutes about Endgame spoilers, and we didn't bring up Captain America saying Hail Hydra. There was that much.
We could probably go on another long tirade about it. We could talk about Endgame for a long time.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was such a great movie.
So many Easter eggs, so many nods to comic book nerds everywhere. It was done amazingly. But you know, that brings us to the part where we want to talk about this Spider-Man Far From Home trailer that dropped. And there's actually an extended scene that has dropped through Outright Geekery. I know for sure that's where I saw it from. That it goes into explaining, because in the trailer, Spidey drops the fact that we live in a multiverse. And if you go into the extended scene there and watch the extended scene of that, they actually give the Marvel Cinematic Universe a number designation. For anybody who's not fully aware, Marvel says, yes, we have a multiverse. They don't go like DC does, where it's Earth 1, Earth 2, etc. They do, you know, they do universe number 880 or 883, I believe, is the one that Mysterio says that he's from. And then they go right to and say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is universe 616. Now, that basically means, for everybody who doesn't know what Earth 616 or reality 616 is, that is Marvel's main continuity. So what that boils down to is Marvel's continuity is now the cinematic universe, which, to me, I've said it to a couple of folks in private messenger that I would have been okay with a designation of 616B, 616.1, 616 point a million zeros and then a 1, any designation except for the exact designation of 616. And the reason why is because the comic books and movies cannot be directly, they're two different mediums. You're not going to get 100% one way or the other. They're two different mediums. So there are going to be some things you have to change in movies that you don't have to change in comic books. And it's okay for them to be different. It's totally okay. We as comic book nerds would have absolutely accepted it. But as a comic book nerd and as a Marvel fan, it's sticking in my crawl a little bit that they're designating the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Reality 616. How do you guys feel? Am I overreacting to that?
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, honestly, yeah, they probably should have given it a different designation, but I think it's kind of more of a nod to the regular Marvel universe more so than anything.
I think they want to kind of take you back too, like so. It's not so much that you go and buy the back issues, but they can sell more trade paperbacks. Like for instance, Infinity War. You know, I mean, I read the Infinity Gauntlet. It's a completely different story. I enjoyed it just as much. I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the book. You know, I actually kind of liked the fact that they were a little bit different because I wasn't seeing the same story, and I could make the comparisons and the contrast between the two. So that made it a little bit more fun too. You know, so yeah, I mean, John, I do think you're overreacting, but that's all right. I mean, I know a lot of people do. I know a bunch of people that are so upset about all these things that are happening in these movies, and it's like, chill, man, just chill. You know, enjoy it for what it is. At least they're making them.
I
Agreed. Agreed. I'd rather have a Batman versus Superman movie that was kind of done poorly than not at all.
I don't disagree with that, and I will say this too, that I do gather that I probably am overreacting, or I wouldn't have asked the question. But I will say this: if that ends up being my only complaint or my biggest complaint about the Spider-Man Far From Home movie, I guarantee you it will be the biggest selling Spider-Man movie that they've ever done. Because, like I say, if that's it, then that means that they've smashed it out of the park.
In terms of a lot of things coming off this, like spilling into the LCS, it's going to be huge. It really is. You got the stealth suit Spider-Man suit in there. You got Nick Fury, Mysterio. I mean, the graphics, it looks like it's going to be a really great story.
Oh yeah, well, and the question of whether or not it's actually the elementals or whether it is not hallucinations but illusions done by Mysterio is right now in question. So that actually has a speculators market up in arms everywhere, where they're trying to decide, is it Hydro Man, is it Molten Man?
That's what I was wondering. Maybe it's their version of the Sinister Six.
Yeah, but
Or
the
Sinister. No, what was that? What was that syndicate called?
It wasn't the crime. It was not the crime syndicate, because the crime syndicate is the alternate version of the Justice League where they're all evil. That's the crime syndicate. The Sinister Six is the team up against Spider-Man of like the Vulture and the Green Goblin and all of those main characters showing up. That's the Sinister Six. But I don't.
But Spider-Man had another team of villains that was composed of Beetle, Speed Demon, Hydro Man, Boomerang, and another guy. There was like 5 guys. They made a 4-issue miniseries of it in the 90s called Spider-Man versus his Deadliest Foes or something like that.
Yeah, and that's that
I can't. I
miniseries is
remember part of the name was Syndicate, but I can't remember the full name.
Well,
I would have to look back.
Well, on the whole, like, is this Hydro Man? Is this Molten Man? I mean, in the trailer, Mysterio actually kind of comes off as a good guy. So, I mean, it almost makes me think that those are illusions. Like he's playing the good guy, but in the background, he's doing all of these illusions to do the evil part. Hey, what do you think?
Hey,
What do you think of the new Spider-Man movie coming?
Yes.
What do you mean, yes? What do you think?
Cool.
It's cool?
yeah,
What
I
do you think
agree.
of
Yes.
Avengers Endgame.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did your dad cry? Did he cry during Endgame?
I don't think so. Oh yeah, he did.
He cried like a little baby.
I was blubbering.
Dude, what? That's awesome. That's awesome. Are you going to join us for the rest of the podcast?
Who?
You.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Our viewership just went through the roof, dude. I'm guaranteeing right now. That's amazing. So I'm down with letting her hijack the whole show. How do you guys feel about that?
That's cool with me.
Okay, so we've asked you about Endgame. We've asked you about Spider-Man. What's your favorite comic book? What's your favorite color? Is it easy? Do we want to start easy and ask what your favorite color is instead?
I thought My Little Pony was your favorite.
No.
No? What is
No.
your favorite? Is it Teen Titans?
Spider-Man.
Oh, you like Spider-Man now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I got her the Ponies issue.
Dude. Okay, so now you can tell everybody that all the My Little Pony books are actually for Dad, aren't they? Does your dad collect My Little Pony books?
Only for me.
Oh yeah, how much is he paying you to say that?
I'm not Biddle.
You Biddle and Huff.
Get out of here, Chucksy.
The bronies.
Get out of here.
She's
That's
gonna
awesome.
be the hand.
You're gonna be famous now.
Get out of
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Right now.
Settle down a little bit.
The millions and millions of people that are watching and listening, you're now famous.
Yep, you're gonna be a YouTube icon.
Yes, they will be making T-shirts with your face on it.
Are you gonna go see
That's
Spider-Man
right,
with your
yeah.
dad?
Are you gonna see Spider-Man with me? Speak up.
Yes.
No, as
Yeah.
far as the Mysterio thing, yeah, he's going to be the villain. Everything in there is a ploy of some sort to lure out
I already
Spider-Man.
knew that.
And I'm almost positive he's
I already
not.
knew that.
I'm almost positive he's not from a different world. He's using that as a ploy in some way, shape, or form. That's just my theory.
I agree. Do you have a theory as well that's different from Dad's? Do you have a different theory? Who do you think?
No, I just have a connection to the villain thing. Yeah, there was a second novel in the Carnage issue where that movie is in the second part of the issue.
Yeah, there were two stories. There were two. Are you talking about the Free Comic Book Day Carnage book? Yeah, there were two stories in that. I liked that a lot myself too. I like having a couple of stories in the same book. It makes it much more fun to read.
Do you think Tom Holland is a hunk?
The guy that plays Spider-Man, do you think he's cute?
No.
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 You heard it here. No.
I already have another boyfriend in my class.
You have no
Okay.
boyfriend.
Okay, no. Now we have a scoop. Who's your boyfriend? Are we allowed to talk to you about your boyfriend or not?
Yeah.
Who's your boyfriend?
No, I'm not telling you.
Okay, we got the no comment. We got the dreaded no comment. That's fine, Mark.
She knows I'm going to find this boy
You're gonna give him the dad talk.
and be like, "Who are you?"
Yes.
You don't even know where I live.
Oh, I can find that.
No,
Oh, yes, I can.
you can't.
By the way, your dad has friends who have access to information like that. We're not going to drop any names, but your dad probably talks to him at least 5 or 6 days a week. And like, I know me and Todd look super duper scary and stuff, and so does your dad, but he even talks to uglier people than us. It's
You're not ugly. You're not ugly.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate that. You know what? I'm going to have that put on a business card. I've been told I'm not ugly.
Not ugly John.
That's a title I'm willing to accept. It doesn't have to be handsome or pretty or any of that stuff. Just not ugly is. I set the bar like right here, which brings up funny little tangent. You will hear in the two interviews that I did, the one with George Lowe and the other one with Robbie Rist. I reference the interview I did with George Lowe because I did that one first, but it's being a little more challenging to edit down. But Robbie Rist, I'm like, so the bar is set here, and he's like, no, the bar is set there. But you have to listen to that interview to know what that gag is. Just trust me, it's worth a listen. However, I would suggest maybe it's not full blown adult content only, but there's some parts of it that may warrant explanation that may be slightly uncomfortable for some parents. We'll just leave it at that.
We should be able to handle it in this day and age, right?
Isn't that the truth?
We got to make it interesting.
Yeah, man. Help your dad make a funny face for us real quick. Can you help him make a funny face?
No.
No, you're supposed to like grab a hold of his face in some way and like yes, like that.
All right. Oh yeah. All right. I'm doing a snapshot of this right now. Your new profile picture.
Yeah.
There we go. That's amazing. That's so fun. So we've talked a little bit about Bleeding Cool. We've talked a little bit about the Spider-Man trailer. I think it's about time for us to give a little bit of an update on the crew.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the crew Kickstarter, we are within $100 of funding, which is pretty amazing considering.
Oh, sorry, guys.
You're squeezing me.
I'm gonna look right now to see where we're at.
Yeah, we're at 30. We're at 3413. We need 87 more to be funded. We're working on perfecting everything. Like I'm actually going in each stage, fixing things down to the pixel level to make them look perfect. Jason redesigned the doghouse. It looks amazing. We don't want to show anybody because it's kind of a surprise. We're gonna put all the backer names on the back. It should look pretty cool. We're talking about some little surprises as thank yous for all the backers. So I mean, and we lowered the stretch goals from the first one was at 6,500. We realized that might be not attainable possibly, so we lowered it down to 4,000, where I think it's a sticker, a bookmark, a magnet, a pin, some upgrades to the book. So we're really appreciative that everybody is contributing to this, and mostly we want to give back. I already got artists hitting me up telling me they want to do something for book number 2, like Carrie Valerie.
Really?
Yeah, Carrie Valerie. Who's that?
Oh yeah. Can you give a spoiler on who else?
Well, Carrie Valerie, Robert Ruiz. There's some corner artists that do some really great stuff. You know, Jason loves doing covers. I'm sure Gaz is going to do another cover. I did talk to a dude that did some Rick and Morty's, and he quoted me a price that's pretty reasonable to do a cover, but he just didn't have the time.
You should hit up Anna Zhao.
Yeah, Jason talked to Anna Zhao about the first one, but she needs probably like a 2 month. She needs to know 2 months ahead of time before she can do anything.
Dude, surprisingly, she's getting. Well, I shouldn't say surprisingly. She's getting booked up pretty fast. I mean, before we know it, we're going to be seeing her on some major stuff, I think.
Yeah, I like her stuff, and hopefully we can pull some people like that. I mean, you know, it'd be awesome to. I mean, John Boy Myers did that Last Blood, or it's one of the Valiant covers, but that looked amazing. I know I'd love to talk to that guy.
Hey, talk to Corey. Maybe Corey can put in a good word.
Yeah, and it would be amazing if somehow, some way, we could pull off an art germ. Who knows?
I mean, even check out Monty Michael Moore. I mean, he helped us out with Steam Age.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that, again, it kind of brings full circle to what one of the themes of our show has been almost since day one, which is how strong the comic book community is where we're at. The corner and the resources that are there for you, absolutely take full advantage of them. Whether it's somebody who's just a killer fan artist or what, they're there, and a lot of them are chomping at the bit to have another creative outlet. And you know, yes, some will do it for exposure. We've talked to folks who, you know, exposure's worth nothing. You have to pay for it. And I can see both sides of the argument, but on the flip side too, I know that if it's a project that Todd is working on, I have no doubt that you're working in to the goals, people getting paid for the effort that they're putting forth.
Oh yeah. I mean, Gaz Moses was the only one that did something for this one, and I mean, we negotiated a price, and he did a cover. You know, I talked to some other people, and you know, I preferred for them to like maybe quote me a price, tell me what you're going to do it for. Right. But I had planned to pay all of them. I think for the most part, none of them really believed it was ever going to happen. And now that it's happened, all of a sudden they're like, "Oh crap! I should have did a cover," you know.
Well, now you also had another major development too, didn't you?
We asked Anna Zhao to contribute a page in Steam Age, and we had her booked, and she had to bow out. I can't remember the reasons because it's been a while now, but I know in conversations I've had with her in the past, she kind of regrets it.
Yeah, because look at some of the people who have got extra work from it. At a point, I'm certain that we will develop something as a follow-up. That the ideas are still out in the ether. What that follow-up will end up being, whether it's a second pinup book or an anthology or a full-blown mini series. I don't
see on our end.
What's that?
From corner, it's like Corey was the spearhead of that, and now he's like, you know, like he made all the connections on that, you know, and helped take a large part of that. And now he's busy with Art Germ, and he's trying to take on more creators, and he's doing his CGC thing and CBCS thing. Unless someone has some great knowledge about that.
it can happen because just like
Well,
that.
I'm sure we can make it happen. I'm just saying it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen as fast as we'd like.
Probably not as fast as we'd like, but there again, too, I want us.
I definitely want to put out another one of those books. I definitely do.
Well, in something like that, I think we're going to do it a step at a time. For like right now, making sure that the crew happens and that this project here happens. That's our number one goal right now. The Steam Age Wasteland 2 or any of the working titles that I know a couple of the admins have thrown out there for the follow-up to Steam Age Wasteland, that's at least another, that's at least another 30 days away before we're going to really seriously get into that because, like I say, we're at this point, full funding is all but assured, and I will tell you that I believe inside the next 24 hours it will absolutely be fully funded. I have no doubt of that. Then the catch is look, man, honestly, I'm pretty jacked that you guys included an enamel pen because
I'm looking forward to that too.
Dude, you guys know I'm a huge honk for those enamel pins, man. I've got them. I will be going to church tomorrow morning, and my suit jacket will have either a black suit Spider-Man on it, or one of those little pop enamel pins, or a tick enamel pin will be on my suit jacket. That's what's gonna.
Yeah.
That way, since sorry, you there.
Hey guys, my daughter really wants to show you some of her favorite comics from her short box. She's gathering some of them up now. Do you guys mind if she shows them to you guys?
Are you kidding? Heck no.
No, go for it.
Absolutely, 100%. Bring it on.
She's gathering them up now. So we'll continue talking until she brings me her stuff.
My only question is, and this is kind of help Dane and his boss make sure that there's not too much to clean up after the fact. Can we limit it to like a top 10? Is that possible? Or
can you keep it to about 10 books? 10 of them to show?
And we've talked about doing a show with kids and actually kind of discussing what they would want to see as the
don't forget those
comic books. So I mean, this is actually kind of cool.
Do you see that action figure right here?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm down with doing that.
Some of your books are there.
Just like this. This is kind of how I would imagine that show would go, which is pretty awesome.
A close up of Dane's face?
Yes, a close up of Dane's face as he's walking down the hallway. So real quick though, so the enamel pen, that's the one that I'm the most excited for the stretch goals. I mean, I know we've kind of downplayed it a little bit, honestly, the fact that it's been less than 10 days that this has been active and you're almost fully funded already. That's pretty impressive for a first time offering. At least in my opinion. Is that kind of where you hoped it would be at already, Todd? Or did you just kind of free yourself of any expectations and just let her rip and see what happens?
Well, I'm an accounting guy, so I looked at a bunch of other Kickstarters, and there was one by Corey Siegel Oliver where he did Leap, and he's a first-time author, and he had 100 backers, and his goal was 3,500. So that's kind of the way that I looked at it, overall. Use that as an example. That's probably the closest example, and I mean that's how I came up with everything basically. As far as the stretch goals go, I mean, they're there. I mean, depending on what we look like at the end of this, I mean, I love all the backers and I appreciate all the backers. I don't really care like if I even make anything off of this. If I have extra, it's all going back to the backers, like as a thank you. Like I want people to know how much I appreciate the fact that they helped make this happen. And, you know, and then, I mean, Jason and I were talking. I mean, the other thing is, like, we have a book 2, we have a book 3. So some of the, if there's anything extra also, I mean, being able to pay the colorist out of the whatever we have left is easier, because on this book I had to pay the colorist roughly about $600 just out of my pocket, you know. So I got all, I mean, I'm about $700 in the hole at the moment, you know. Hopefully I can get that paid back, and then my wife will stop yelling at me.
That would be a good thing, Todd. Guys, we have to fully fund this with an extra at least $700 so that Todd can stop sleeping in the doghouse. I gather that's why the press is called the Doghouse Press. Is that fairly accurate?
I think so. Yeah, I've been in a doghouse for like the last 6 months.
That's awesome, man. Like you say, it's good to be able to razz somebody about something like that. So, Dane, how is the progress on the top 10 list there, bud?
I'm asking her to count her books. She's pulled a stack, and I'm thinking she's gone over a little bit.
Dane's like, yeah, guys, she's got a top 50. Sorry.
No, I hope not.
Oh man.
How many?
She has 9. I'm surprised.
Dude. Okay. Well, that leaves open. That leaves open the question. Then because we'll need to figure out what her 10th book would be if she had it, and that way we know what the 10th book should be.
Her grail.
Yeah, her holy grail of comic books. So when she comes back and says, "Dad's gonna buy me an Amazing Fantasy 16 for my birthday,"
the first appearance of My Little Ponies.
Yes.
Okay, tell them what the book is and show them.
My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
Number 44, Ride Pie Variant. Show it.
And let's see it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Trying to get rid of the glare. Little Wizard of Oz.
Very nice.
Yeah, that looks good.
Very cool.
I like the Wizard of Oz homage too. That's pretty nice. You're gonna make me want to go to the shop and buy some My Little Ponies.
And she's got her Descendants, Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, very cool. Really that's the new one, right?
Oh, that's cool.
Free Comic Book Day one.
Okay.
Very cool.
Next. And she got this one, I think it was last year, the DC Superhero Girls, number 1.
Oh, yeah, I got that one.
No joke, I have that in a short box at my house right now.
Then she's got My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, number, was it 10? It's a Justice League homage. Check it out. Show them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, I know somebody who has a comic book that's coming out who has an homage to that same cover.
The Crew!
The Crew.
This is the cover, honey.
Oh, wow.
The Spider-Man side was better looking too. I agree.
Okay, next. And this is Fiendship is Magic, number 3. She likes the art on that one.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. And it's in a bag and board. I'm very proud of you.
Very impressed.
And here's another My Little Pony, Legends of Magic. Definitely a Norse vibe to that one. Let's move it so you don't have so much glare. There you go.
Skull! Have you read all these books?
I haven't read them because they're keepsakes.
You're a collector. Okay, that's cool.
Supergirl number 1. She has a bunch of them. I gave her all of them.
Now, wait a second. I've got a question for you about that cover. There's Supergirl on that cover. Who else is on that cover? Do you know who that is laying there that Supergirl just punched out?
Power Girl.
Power Girl, yes. But
She
just
looks kind of like a clone of Supergirl.
I know. Isn't that crazy? That's the weirdest thing ever.
She's like, Power Girl's a good guy, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes good guys fight each other.
She's like my imaginary evil twin. She's a good girl, but she's sometimes pretty bad. Like worse than me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Worse than you.
I'm her older twin.
And here's the last one. She really likes this one.
That's those last two books. I own those last two books as well. I am a huge Power Girl fan, actually, and that's not a joke. I like Power Girl a lot.
And I like Batman. That's pretty sweet. And if Josh Biddle is watching this, he's gonna like over half of the books that you showed.
He's
got them already.
For My Little Pony.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, when she started like asking me to buy these for her, I'm like, you know, if I show these in videos, people are gonna be like, no, they're really for Dad. They're really for sure as shit. They're all saying that. It's like, no. I will admit I do own one actual My Little Pony book, and that's only because it's a Death Dealer homage. That's it.
And it's Rainbow Dash.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Whoever that is.
did we ask what her dream comic book would be to own? Did we get to ask that, or is she?
I'm pretty sure
Has she fluttered away?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's your dream comic to own.
Yes.
She will show you the dream comic book that she'd like to own, and I own them.
Twin.
She really wants them.
Where's the twin?
It's on the other row, hon. No,
She's got good taste in comic books.
Is that a coffin book?
Is it a coffin book? Yes.
Oh yeah, that's Daddy's. Those are Daddy's grails.
I'm trying to help her. There it is. Okay, now she'll show you the one that she'd really like to own.
Oh yeah, yes, I want that one too.
Yeah, I knew it would be. That's a good book.
Oh, those are awesome.
I told her when I'm dead.
Yeah, which will be in like 7 years.
Oh, 7 years?
7?
Be dead in 7 years?
Oh,
what?
He's got a plan.
Wow.
He's got a plan, Dane. You got to be careful.
Guys. You heard it here first.
You better sleep with one eye open, man. She's got your number, pal.
Oh, damn. I hope she's wrong.
I know. 7 years. That doesn't give you much time.
All of a sudden, I find out some bad news. I'm going to sell them right now just because of that.
Yes, if it turns out that you're planning on cutting my brake lines, just know if I die of suspicious causes, you get nothing.
No, I'll gladly give them to her unless someone's like, "Hey, I'll give you some big time money for it," which probably won't happen.
If Dad can put you through college, he may have to take that offer.
Right?
I'm not going to college.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Why not?
You got to take
You're
care of
gonna
your
be the
dad.
president.
I don't want to be the president.
You're going to be the president.
That's true. I can have free will all I want.
So, hey, tell your dad that being the president is more of a pain than it's worth.
I feel like I'm going to be the first lady.
Hey, I get to be the dad of the president. That carries some power, don't it?
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah, today
At
it
least
does.
it's pretty real.
I'm the one carrying the famous.
I'll vote for you.
Yeah, you got
when
my
you're
vote.
old enough.
Thank you.
Say bye.
But I gotta live longer than 7 years.
Did you
That's
share them?
hilarious.
All right. Well, I think we covered everything. You guys want to wrap this one up?
Yeah, man. Let's do some. If anybody's got any final thoughts, I will start with final thoughts. I think the absolute highlight of the show just happened. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Getting to see somebody who's young and full of life. And I know Dane's like she's too full of life for this time of the night. Wish
Right?
bed.
The weekend. We give them carte blanche on the weekends.
Right on. I don't blame you, dude. You gotta have a little bit of fun when you're a kid. But that's really why we all collect. In my opinion, that's why we all collect comic books, is that nostalgia factor of going back to that time when we were young and a little silly and a little foolish, and getting to read some of those kids' stories again and having that nostalgia factor. So probably the highlight of the evening.
In terms of with her, it like in the corner and most Facebook groups, their community is pretty much driven by 30-plus-year-olds, right?
Yep.
Well,
absolutely.
we got to get the next generations involved. Otherwise, within 10 years, we're going to watch our industry that we love die because, we're aging. Responsibilities become different as we go along in life. So if we want to keep this industry alive, we got to get the next generation going. Every little kid helps, from our children to our grandkids. We want to keep it alive, educate them, get them moving.
Couldn't agree more. Todd, you got some final thoughts for us?
I enjoyed the ending of this, and I totally agree. I mean, like Dane said, in the next 10 years, who knows what's going to happen? So we really do need. You want to go into the comic shop and see young kids checking things out. You want to see parents with their kids checking things out. I know my kids don't. My kids kind of appreciate the whole comic book thing. I try to get them into it a little bit more and more. I know my son's got a Rick and Morty on his shelf in a bag and board, and he appreciates that, so that's cool. He does tell me that he's going to sell all my stuff as soon as I die. So, I don't know how much he's going to be into it, but he might be a little bit happy after he sells some of that stuff. I got a few good things.
No, that is the way to be right there, is enjoy it while you can. And I've told my kids, after I'm gone, if you don't enjoy it, sell it, man. It's just stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the crap out of it while I had it, but after I'm gone, don't make it a headache for you, that's for sure. Unfortunately, I've seen too many folks make it a headache for the family left after, with these unreasonable demands, or what have you. Man, after I'm gone, I don't care what you do with it. Do whatever you got to do with it. If it's easier for you to take it out and throw it in the burn pile and just torch it all, cool, man. I'm down. Let it rip.
To be honest, if I know I'm going to be kicking it, I'm going to do the research for them and be like, you don't take anything less than this for this. And that's that. The rest, whatever, dollar fodder, put it in a garage sale and sell for 50 cents a piece.
See, I would have thought that you'd be like, bury me with my Lady Deaths, and John would be, bury me with my Power Girls.
No, the Lady Death and all that shit, I will straight up start selling. So if I'm like, not that I'm saying I'm lucky, but if I know I'm going to be kicking it within a year or so, it's going to start,
oh yeah,
flooding the gate.
Yeah, man, I'm not one of those guys that's bury me with this or that. It's like I say, I have a very different outlook on death that way than a lot of people do. As far as when I'm not in this body anymore, even this body, burn it. I don't care.
Yeah, toss me in the ground.
Yeah, I'm not there
There's
anymore.
only one comic I want to get buried with, and that's Spawn #1, because that's the first one I ever actually bought off an LCS shop when I was a kid. First brand new book.
And see, that's not bad. That's reasonable. But there again, how many millions of copies are there of Spawn #1? You could
Exactly. No one's gonna miss that one copy. Trust me.
This is what you do.
You can bury me with all the X-Men #1s. No one's gonna miss that copy.
Yeah.
Be buried in a coffin made of Spawns and X-Men #1s. Just have them.
I've seen long boxes just full of X-Men #1s. Like, seriously, long boxes. Holy crap. Was that an over-ordered book?
Yes, I see that.
No joke.
Well, it was fun, guys. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for joining us,
Good
Dane.
time. Thank you, Dane, for joining us. Todd, thank you for running it as always, man. Is good talks. We will we'll be on the lookout, guys, for those interviews that I have from VisionCon 2019 coming out too, because that will be a fun one to listen to for sure. So
Awesome,
looking
bro.
forward to them. Buy the crew. Get on Kickstarter and get the crew going.
Yes.
Let's see this push some numbers here. It's going to be a great book. It's going to be funny as hell. Do it.
No doubts. Join the crew.
Thank you. Yes, the crew. All right, peace out, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.